we have to talk family photography because anyone that's been a member of ours for more than a couple of weeks has heard us say how lucrative, both creatively and financially, family photography is for any portrait and wedding business. And you do specialize as part of the work that you do, Tom, in family photography. Let's talk about this one here, obviously done outdoors. Let's start with the lighting, just because that's the first question that came to my mind, which is how much of the lighting that we're seeing here is natural light versus auxiliary lighting or reflectors?
One auxiliary light off to the left, which is a 36-inch square soft box with either an Alien B or a Einstein light, Paul Buff, and the rest is ambient, mixed with the available light. Now, as you can tell, the sun was kind of setting. There's a tree line behind them. I get tired looking at this, not because I don't love these people, but there were 4 or 5 families. It was a huge group. This is one of the smaller sub-families. And I remember coming home going, I felt like I photographed a wedding. It was crazy. So and by this point, this is one of the last ones because Dad had to work, so he showed up a little later. And I remember saying to them, hey, you did a great job on the clothes. Where's the little boy's solid sweater? They said, we don't have one. I said, well, at least the color tone is the same. He's in the right family of colors, and he is physically smaller. It's better.
That's a great point, Tom, though. That is where the eye goes, right, is to that shirt because of the contrast. So in a perfect world. Yeah.
If you look in the art world, you put a painting upside down to see where that command to look or that attention goes right to that shirt. Physically, he is smaller, so it doesn't hurt as much. But of course, by then it was too late. I couldn't say, we'll go home because they were from out of town. But it was. I was going okay. But they were a very sweet family. This is a 24-30 canvas. That was one of the biggest sales I had last year. This was last fall. It was fantastic, and it started with a baby plan. This woman in here, her sister had has a sister who had a baby who came to me, and then it grew and grew from there. And then they booked this huge thing last year. But lighting-wise, ambient light, there's nothing overhead, nothing in their faces other than the soft light. You see on the little boys, on all their hair, that creates a natural hair light because it was skimming through the trees. But there's no real hot spots on them. There's no direct sun hitting them to burn out the highlights.
And the posing, of course, you're using the rule of having all the heads on different levels. I mean, you could argue that the 2 middle sons, are kind of on the same level, but they're framing it. They're bookending the image. So nice work there. Do you now? How do you make absolutely certain that each and every one of them are sharp and in focus when you do an image like this?
First of all, one of the first rules I try to follow, no matter the size of the group, is there's no rows, R-O-W-S, meaning you don't have a back row and somebody in the middle and the kids way up front. You try the best you can, have Dad lean forward, stay up straight and lean forward at the belt buckle, I call it. I can't remember if it was Monty Zucker or whoever said that. Maybe it was Chuck. They're like, lean at the belt buckle. People sort of get that. And so that they're as close as possible so their noses are almost equidistant from my lens. And I know you can string that, Chuck. You've talked about stringing them before, and I've done that many times with big groups particularly because it's kind of critical. The other thing is, obviously, the longer lens you use, the more it compresses the image. So there's a certain limit to that, especially if you're working with children. If you're way back, hey, Timmy, tip your head or whatever, they can't communicate with you. So you have to find that balance of a long enough lens to throw the background softly out of focus, compress the image a bit, but mostly it's just making sure that they know everybody in the back kind of lean in. It feels funny, but it'll look fine. You got to trust me. And that's the biggest way that I do it. And just keep an eye. Sometimes the children move and they lean or they slouch, and you have to it's like juggling. You're always watching all of them, keep all the plates in the air.
With this image, though, it looks like you're using a pretty, long depth of field, so it probably wasn't quite as big of an issue as some of the other images that I've seen you do where, that background is really going out of focus. Then it becomes even more crucial. So, Dad, just give us the 30-second stringing. What, for anyone who doesn't know what you meant by stringing the image?
Yes, well, Charles Lewis taught me this many moons ago because occasionally I'd photograph a family and somebody would be out of focus. I'm like, how can that be? And they were, especially in the film days where you couldn't go in and do anything digitally to it. And basically from camera position, you run a string, I think it was tied to the tripod, out to the nose of each person to see that they were the same equidistant. Because sometimes it would create either a little, I don't want to call it, but you keep their equidistance so nobody was a foot further away or closer to the camera lens, and that was really critical because you couldn't refocus, and you can't see. Autofocus helps sometimes, but still, if they're far apart, it's not going to help you because one of them will be out of focus. But so a literal physical string. Same thing with the lights. The distance from the lights in the studio to the subject. For years, I ran the string just to make sure. It's like using a light meter. This thing's always 6 feet away and spot on. So I'm going to get a 6-foot string, put it right on their nose, perfect.
Yeah, the expression sells photographs, and these expressions are really good. And this is hard. You've got some hard ages in there where the kids aren't excited about doing the photography, and they'd rather be doing just about anything else. And this has what I call it sparkle. These people's personalities are sparkling. How'd you do that?
It really is what one age thinks is funny, the other age thinks is goofy. So the boys on the end, the one on the far right, actually I did his senior portraits, or I'm booking him for senior portraits. You have to address all of them. You have to learn their names. Knowing their names helps. So I can say, hey, Timmy, do you drive yet? No, because, part of the thing in my agreement is your folks have to buy you a new car after we're done. They all laugh. And then like the little guy, I'm like, and you too, how old are you? I'm 7. I'm like, you're right. And they all laugh. Things like that, you develop a pattern, but you keep going back and forth. And Henry, the dad, I'm like, I hope you're getting a big foot rub for being willing to come do this. And they'll go, oh yeah, man, I didn't really want to do this. Everybody laughs. I'm like, okay, then Johnny, you get to rub his feet. Oh no, just natural, no jokes like, hey, did you hear the one about the just talking? But you got to know their names, so you can't go, Tom, hey, you get in the car,
So on that, I assume while you're doing that, you're not looking through the camera, you're looking at them, you're standing behind it, and you are just firing that trigger as fast as you can, right?
Well, not quite as fast as you can, but when I see the expressions I want, I grab them because they do change quickly. And somebody will turn their head or stick their tongue out or laugh. They'll all smile and one person laughs, which is not flattering. But it is on a tripod, and I'm peeking around. Or I have for this particular camera, remote, wireless remote now with my Nikon. So it's just basically, talking to them. But I want them looking in the camera, so I'm right near it, and or I'll pop out behind her or something. So you have to be cognizant of that, where people are looking, so they're not looking in different places, obviously.
Perfect. Thank you, Tom.